With us in studio, we have none other than Peter Shankman, best-selling author, entrepreneur, speaker, and worldwide connector. Some background about our very distinguished guest. As the CEO of The Geek Factory, a boutique social media marketing and PR firm, Peter is recognized worldwide for his new ways of thinking about customer service, social media, PR, and marketing. Peter is a keynote speaker at conferences and trade shows worldwide. He sits on the advisory board of multiple companies, including NASA, and the first 3D food printing company, Natural Machines. He's also the best-selling author of many books, his most recent one, Zombie Loyalists, using great service to create rabid fans. With that intro, we give a warm welcome to Peter Shankman.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Oh, Peter, a real treat for us. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Where do we start? Oh, man.
Well, after that intro, I have no idea. I know what you're talking about.
Let's jump into Harold. Help a reporter out. In under a year, this online service that you founded became the standard for journalists as a go-to resource. What made you start it? What was that aha moment? And what's it all about?
Harrow is one of those things that I built on a whim. I talk to everyone. It's massive ADD, and I talk to everyone. If you're on a plane next to me, unless you fake your own death, I'm going to know everything about you. And so for me, I talk to everyone. Because of that, I know people, and I know reporters. I ran a PR firm. Reporters would call me occasionally. Peter, I'm doing a story on this. Who do you know? I'm doing a story on that. Who do you know? And over time, they started calling more and more. The straw that brought the camel's back was the reporter who called, Peter, I'm doing a story on Nigerian farming, and a friend of mine told me you have a lot of friends who are sub-Saharan soil experts. Can you get me someone who? Like, are you kidding me? What? It took like 12 hours. Like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I built a Facebook group. The Facebook group, I invited my friends. I said, I might send things out. It lasted about a week before we outgrew the Facebook group. I moved it to the web. In about a year, we had about 100,000 people getting emails from me every day with queries from journalists all around the world. Small little text ad at the top was more than paying the bills. I sold it about 3 years after I started with about 250,000 people receiving 3 emails a day from me with about a 79% open rate. It was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Pretty crazy.
Definitely. Wow. Moving to the topic of customer service, and I know you speak about this a lot, and of course in your book, which we'll talk about downfield in this interview. Can you explain to our audience, what is a customer economy?
Customer economy is what we're entering now. Essentially, last 50 years, we determined what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go, what restaurants we wanted to eat, what movies we wanted to see, based on newspapers and reviewers and occasionally friends, but primarily through what we read and what we had to search out that information. Okay, that was essentially a marketer's economy. They would provide us the information, we would go do it based on that. We have switched into a customer economy. What's a customer economy? Well, if I land in San Francisco and type in steakhouses into Google Maps will show me steakhouses near me, and they'll show me ads. But what they'll show me also at the top is any steakhouses that my friends have gone to first, okay, and whether or not they had a good time. Now, that makes it really interesting, because if that's automatically happening, then I don't have to worry about looking for reviews. I don't have to worry about sites like Yelp or TripAdvisor. They're going to die. All I have to do is go online, and the network's going to see the kind of things I like, based on what I do in the past, based on where my phone is, based on where my GPS says I am, based where I've landed. And then it's going to recommend things based on the people that I hang out with the most and what they do, right? So if I like steak and I go to steakhouses all the time, and you come into town and we're friends on Facebook or Google or Apple, the network might say, hey, you know what? You should go to this steakhouse because your friend Peter goes there a lot and he seems to love it. It's automatic. So it's less about advertising, and that's where we're moving.
Now, a question about the phone. People are concerned about, tracking and privacy.
Privacy died 30 years ago.
Okay.
The best thing we can do is accept it. Now, we want to quit it, just shut off our phone. Shut off our phone. But if
you're saying live with it.
Live with it, because it no one cares. My phone's on 24 hours a day. My face is so public on the internet. People know who I am. It's not been a problem once in 10 years.
Okay. So now, when we talk about a business to determine it's what its customers really want. So you gave a great example about all the tracking is there so that it understands, it's already thinking. But let's say a customer is not that plugged into technology. How could they really get to understand what the customers really want?
Well, the most logical way in the world is just to ask them. We have more ways to connect with the customer than ever before, yet more and more businesses choose not to do anything. It is so simple to say to a customer, hey, how do you like to get your information? Can we give it to you via email, via phone, via fax? I think there are 6 people in the world who still use fax machines. If you're one of them, then they should know that. Do you prefer to get it via text, via podcast? When I run in Central Park in the morning, I'm running and listening to podcasts on my phone that I've downloaded. That's how I like to get my information, right? If I had to get my information from newspapers, I just don't have the time. So I will be loyal to businesses or media outlets that give me information the way I want and when I want it. When I leave here and I go to my next appointment downtown, I'll get on the subway, I'll put on my headphones, I'll listen to a podcast. That's how I get my news.
So, but the question that I have now is let's say a company like, for example, Apple. Remember a couple of years ago, they decided we're taking out the disc. Remember the 3 1/4 or 3.5 inch disc?
Floppies.
And you know what? No more floppies.
Right.
You're just going to go... Did they do it based on their research, or they said we're going this way?
Apple's the exception that proves the rule, because at the end of the day, what choice do you have? They're Apple,
right?
Okay. What I always tell people when they bring up Apple, don't do it. You're not big enough to do what Apple does.
Great point. Great. You have to be Apple in order to get away with that. Okay. On one of the interviews in my research, and you put it really good on your website, shankman.com, about the importance of if you have someone that you're interviewing, a star, do your homework. As my audience knows, I'd like to think from the 6 months we're doing this,
you've done your homework tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a great line I saw in one of the interviews is, having an audience is a privilege, not a right. Of course, it's so true, but maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, I compare it to wearing spandex. Very few people have the right to wear spandex. If I work out really hard and I go to the gym every day, I earn the privilege of wearing spandex during a race, right? But the second the race is over, and I ran a 10K in the park this weekend. Okay. Second it was over, a guy came up to me with a big oversized shirt. Sir, you have to put this on now. You're too fat. And I get that. It's okay. I accept it. But it's sort of the same thing in the respect that having an audience is a privilege, because you have the opportunity as a customer. Okay, 15 years ago I belonged to a bank, Chase Bank, right? And they did something that angered me. And you know how hard it was to switch banks 15 years ago? It was a nightmare. Today, one click. TD Bank has 3 clicks. Switch to us. 3 clicks, you've moved your entire life savings. So it's really about understanding that I can leave. You can leave. Anyone can leave. So don't give me a reason to. Go out of your way. Just be a little bit nice. And then, look, at the end of the day, we don't expect to be treated that great. So I'm not asking you to go change the world. Exactly. I'm just saying be a little bit better.
Peter, again, thank you so much for joining us here on Mind Your Business. Your latest book, Zombie Loyalists, talks about using great service to create rabid fans. I love it. Can you elaborate? What are zombie loyalists?
Everyone has that one friend. You pick your favorite restaurant, right? Everyone has that one friend that's the only place he wants to go.
Okay.
Right? So where do you want to go? That place? The same restaurant. Something's happened to him. He's been treated well. He got a free drink, whatever it was, and he's in love with that place because they went a little bit out of the ordinary and they treated him well. So he's a zombie loyalist. And again, in this customer economy, it's the zombie loyalists who are sending out those messages to all their friends. This is where we have to eat it. I use the Olive Garden approach. There's always one guy in the office who loves the Olive Garden, right? Breadsticks, oh my God. He's a zombie loyalist, Robin, and he will beg, borrow, and steal to make sure that that's where you eat every time you ask where you want to go to lunch. So and this is what zombie loyalists for restaurants, for hotels, for anything out there. Someone who's been treated well will become that addicted to it.
Now, let's talk about, let's say, Malcolm Gladwell's book, where he talked about, is the zombie loyalist a combination of someone who's a rabid fan but also is a connector? Or
exactly, yeah. But not only that, but there's someone who's just in love because they know they're going to be treated well. And why wouldn't they want to bring their friends to that event as well? I eat at certain steakhouses because I know they know me and they treat me well there. Right. So I want to go back.
Right. What are some tips for brands to improve their customer service?
Well, I think the number one thing is hire for people. A lot of times you hire for the bottom line, or you hire for the cheapest price. You hire for people who actually want to treat people well. Ritz-Carlton's famous for this. They hire what they call ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, because their belief is that they want to hire people who are passionate about giving a great experience. And if they can't give a great experience, they shouldn't be at Ritz-Carlton. So hire for people. Teach your employees that they will never get in trouble for trying to fix a problem. They'll get in trouble for letting it go bad, for not fixing it and letting the person walk out the door. Everyone who works for me knows they can spend any amount of money to fix a problem in real time, but if they let it die because they're afraid to do anything, they're out the door. So you really have to empower your employees to make those decisions on the fly.
Now, even though you just addressed this, I want to come from a different angle. A business needs to create an environment where all team members understand that their actions matter.
No question about it. No question. I've worked with, I've left companies that I used to use for years because it takes every employee to keep me. It takes every employee to keep a customer. It takes one employee to lose you, and that's amazing.
Link. Right.
And the thing is that I've been in situations where 5 employees have had the opportunity to fix a problem and none of them have. That tells me it's not just one employee's problem. That tells me it's a customer, a corporate culture problem. If it's a corporate culture problem,
You're gone.
Exactly. No point in staying.
How can a business use customer service as a properly as a PR tool without it being overt?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to make people think that you're just doing it to give them, to get exposure out of it. But the fact of the matter is that as you treat customers well, they tend to tell the world. Again, no one believes how great you are if you're the one that has to tell them. Right. So you want to be able to do great things and let the customer be so amazed that they're going to share it with the world. That's the kind of stuff you want to do.
Now, another line that you had in a previous interview was your customers control the future of your business. Meaning, don't just look at what your team. Obviously, your team is critical, but at the end of the day, it's your customers that control the future of your business. Can you elaborate?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, if you, especially in today's economy, if you treat them poorly, they will go somewhere else, and they will tell the world they went somewhere else, and they'll take everyone with them. And again, they don't need you to be rocket scientists. They don't need you to move mountains. They just need you to be a little bit better than. There was a study came out that, for airlines, something like 96% of the people that had a problem didn't expect or even need the problem to be fixed. There's weather. Okay, there's weather. Life goes on. My bag will get lost. You'll find it tomorrow. They just wanted to be acknowledged. They wanted to know that the airline was listening and doing something for their problem. That's what, think about that. If that's all they want and you go a little bit above and beyond, give them a little more, you're going to own the world.
I mean, I have tremendous respect for you. The fact that you diagnosis, ADD, ADHD, you run with it, use it to your advantage, and boy, how you do that. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the frustration that people have when they just go against the way, I'll say, God hardwired them.
Some people are hardwired to be different, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't do well sitting in an office with a boss. It's just not how I worked. So and I tried it, and I was miserable. And, a lot of us come from the mentality, we don't come from entrepreneurial parents. My parents were teachers.
Wow.
And so I grew up thinking, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. Get a job, work for 40 years, and retire. And they're great people, and I love them. They finally understand me. It took several years. They finally get me though. And the basic premise is if you're not doing what you love, you're not going to do it well.
Moving on, back to the topic of social media. What do you think of Twitter's recent announcement of maybe bashing through 140 characters?
Good for them. They created email.
What an answer.
That's essentially what they've built.
I'm just going to move to the next question because you couldn't have answered it better. Wow.
What you need to know is where your customers are. If your customers are spending all their time on Facebook and you're creating a Twitter strategy, you got a problem. Focus on finding out where the customers are. Go after where they are. Casey Stengel said it best. How do they win so many baseball games? And Casey Stengel said, we hit them where they ain't. The opposite is true. Hit them where they are. Find out where they are. Hit them there.
Now, social media has become such an integral part of society, business, personal life, etc. How can a business build a quality social media following? Now, of course, like you just mentioned, about finding where they are, but is there a particular roadmap, any type of suggestions?
Yeah, start offline. Start offline in the real world by treating your customers well. Stop. The best line here, I'll give you a very tweetable line for you. Stop chasing the likes and start doing likable things. Because the more likable things you do, the more your customers are going to want to be a part of your life. The more they're going to want to feel invested in the company. The more they're going to want to find out what else you're doing. The worst thing in the world you can do is say to someone, don't forget to like us on Facebook. No one cares. Okay, I'm not going to go like my dry cleaner. There is absolutely no reason. But, if they do a great job, I will continue to go back to them and I will recommend them.
We touched on this earlier in the show, but just as we approach the close, what are some top strategies to bring in new customers? I know we've touched on it from a couple of different ways, but I want to question this head on.
Well, I
your
think
recommendation.
The biggest problem that people have is that they stop focusing on the customers they have and they start looking for new ones. You get new customers by being amazing to the customers you have. The customers you have will bring you the customers you want because they'll tell people, oh yeah, not a day goes by where I don't recommend 5 different things to people. Use this guy, you call this restaurant, use this flower, because they've treated me well. You really want to be great to the customers you have. They will go out of their way to bring you the ones they want.
77 WABC Radio presents Mind Your Business, hosted by founder and president of Bottom Line Marketing Group, Yitzhak Saflis. Mind Your Business focuses on business and marketing strategies for success.